Hey, we are here at the Leipzig Boo Fair and we have the guys from txtr here, Wizpac actually presenting their device, the txtr, and they have agreed to do a little interview for Mobileread.com. So, let's start with the first question. In a few words, can you tell us what is special about your device? Why we should buy the txtr as opposed to, let's say, the Kindle, the Sony Reader, the iBook, or any of the other devices out there?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's pretty. And there's txtr.com, which is something the other guys didn't do, which is a community platform integrating various sources of content, digital content, into txtr.com, so you can view it on your reader later. So it's not just about books that you buy for reading later, but it's also about blogs, news feeds, and the whole content that is on the net already and it's digital already that wants to be read, not necessarily on the screen, but possibly on a reader in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. So the community is part of the txtr project, if I understand that correctly. So you have blogs and other input data as well as commercial books. So let's talk about commercial books for a bit. You know that Amazon has, of course, its own Kindle bookstore. Mobileread is supplying a lot of books for the iBook, for example, for the iRex Iliad. What are your plans on that front, on the front of DRM protected, books you can actually buy?
Well, actually, we hope they're not going to be all DRM protected, but obviously this is going to happen. We're talking to German content aggregators currently. We are not yet talking to international aggregators, but we're interested in doing this, obviously, when we're rolling out internationally. There's nothing that is confirmed yet, but there will be a commercial program that is not worse than what Sony and at least than what Sony is offering currently.
Okay, the German ebook market at the moment is looking pretty empty actually. If you try to find English-speaking books, let's say 5 years ago, you were pretty lost. You had a few books that were in some obscure format that nobody could read. But today, well, you can look at various sites. You are not really bound to Amazon. You can look at books on board, other sites where you really get a large supply of fiction books, and you can also find textbooks online. On the German market at the moment, it's looking quite, well, difficult. I tried once to get German ebooks, but there's hardly anything. So you're saying that you are speaking to publishers actually, and there seems to be at least a chance that they will start supplying German ebooks as well?
Yeah, it's even better. They learned what is going to happen. So now on the Leipzig Boo Fair, we talked to a lot of aggregators and content suppliers, publishers, that told us they're going to, content is going digital, and they could hide away for a certain amount of time, but it's over now, and they know that. So they're definitely moving now. But when the Sony came, or when the Kindle came out in the US, they woke up pretty much.
So they probably heard the recent news that every, I think, 20th German person is planning to buy an ebook this year. Not a device, but a book, an electronic book. They probably read the news somewhere and thought, oh, maybe we should start getting into business there. Yeah, like iTunes, like the music industry also did. Okay, so let's talk about the device. At the moment it's charging, which actually brings me to my first question. Since battery life has been a large concern with many of the new readers, especially my very favorite, the iRex Iliad, which when I got it originally back, 3 years ago, sort of died after 4 hours of light usage. So what kind of, on your website you say that you have an eink basically supporting power saving mechanism, which is very vague. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, but I didn't do this, but our hardware engineers are very concerned about battery life, and they're optimizing every little switch and bit that they can optimize to shut things down when they're not needed. So I mean, I probably can tell you this. We're shutting down the device completely when you're reading, when you're not turning pages, and wake the main processor only up to turn pages, stuff like that. So there's a lot of optimization going into the hardware layout right now.
Well, that's very good news, at least for me, because I'm somebody who's always very mad about battery life. And yeah, well, the Sony Reader actually was a very good example of that, but all the others seem to have sort of fallen a bit short in that respect. I don't know why, but I hope your company manages to get it right this time, because it's one of the major. Yeah.
Soll ich noch was machen? Du kannst jetzt gerade gar nichts tun. Aufladen? Das lädt. Okay, das wollte ich nur wissen. Sorry.
Okay, so next point with eink is always difficult to have a proper UI, because eink is very slow, and refreshing, and if you have to go through menus, one key press at a time, it can be a big problem. Do you have any special solution there?
Yeah, we have reduced the interface basically to that. I can show you this on this device. We reduced the interaction to this cross, to this slider, which is capacitive, to give you the possibility to turn pages and select a menu and go back. And that's about it. We're not going to build a PDA or something around eink, because that's not going to work. This is for reading. So we did away with everything that wouldn't be useful for reading books, including UI elements that just are for, when technical personnel design stuff, they always want to add features and stuff. But we're reducing this to what you need for reading. Not to say that the features aren't going to be there, but they're going to be there hidden, or it's a very open architecture, so you can add them if you really want them. But for the average reader who wants to turn pages and select a book, we did a UI that can do exactly this. This is what we see on the reader.
Okay, that actually sounds good, because with the iRex Iliad, which is a really wonderful device that can do everything, you were basically stuck with a very slow interface that made it very difficult to actually use even the most basic functions.
And by the way, the very fact that you can do a lot of things with this, which is mostly due to the pen input, reduces the battery life massively, because this is a Wacom tablet behind the display, which sucks the energy from the batteries in like ours.
Okay, now most people, or many people, are going to use a device in that form factor for, I guess, reading fiction books, like I would do. Buy a book somewhere, read it, fine. There are also people who are interested in using it for studying purposes, and those people are always very mad about a search function. Now, the question is, with a reduced interface, are you planning a search function, maybe even a full text search function, or is no such function planned?
There's some things you can do with an interface like that. You can imagine something like T9 on your mobile phone, where you see letters, and by probability you can select the next letter that probably makes sense. I'm not promising that this will be done till fall. And we will have to experiment what can be done there. The ideas are there, we're experimenting, but it's always going to be, even if we do it, the Kindle will be faster for inputting text because they have a keyboard. It's as simple as that. So the next generation after this is probably going to have very interesting input capabilities. Let me put it this way. For now, we stick with the input, and we're trying to do search as good as it gets. Maybe it's not a device for searching full text. That just might be the case.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's nice, because some of the devices are, they don't know where they belong really, and then they try to do everything, and that is then a bit difficult. Yeah. Okay. Now you said the device is going to be open. It's going to be extendable. Can you tell us a bit more about? It's a Linux device basically. Are you going to open it to third-party developers? Are you going to open it to third-party applications?
We definitely are. That's part of the That's part of what sets us apart from the large players in that market. You know, Sony is never going to open up anything seriously. That's not going to happen. And surprisingly, Amazon, they're a quite closed system. They are moving now, but it's quite closed. So it's a strategic position to have an open device. And let me put it this way, all of us are open source people and people who believe in openness. So we just couldn't do something like hiding stuff away. It's going to be Linux. You're going to be able to program it as you are able to program txtr.com right now, which has an API that can be used from the very beginning. And the same is going to be true for the software on the device.
Are you going to supply an SDK? And if yes, what kind of Linux kernel is your device going to be built on?
I can't tell you much about the kernel right now because I'm not doing the Linux stuff. The Linux guys could give you more information on that. There is going to be an SDK, and the kernel is probably going to be recent. I can't.
Yeah, thank you very much. I guess a lot of people at Mobileread are going to be very happy about the fact that you're going to get a SDK right from the beginning, because iRex did supply an SDK, but it was a long battle. It took, I don't know, 2.5 years until they had all their sources out, and it was always delays. And people had long hacked the system and managed to do applications for it before they finally started posting their sources. So, you know, they already found the back way in before iRex opened the front gate. So, well, you can argue about how much sense that makes, but never mind.
From our perspective, it didn't make any sense because they had the early adopter device out there, and you want to open early adopter devices for developers. You can't lose anything there. So we just didn't understand why they did this.
Okay, we already spoke about that before we started the interview, so let's do it again for the record. Format support. Just tell us what you are planning, what you have in right from the start, and what you may or might not put in later on.
Okay. So there is going to be support for EPUB, which is our preferred format because you can change font sizes and stuff like that, and it's reflowable. There is going to be support for PDF, which is going to be as good as you can do it. PDF is always a bit difficult. There is going to be obviously support for HTML and plain text and RTF probably. The Office formats like Word and PowerPoint are important to us because textr.com is supporting them. It's probably a bit harder to do them. I can't promise we will make this till fall, but it's going to be there, and if we don't make it, you can always add support faster than us. That might be possible.
So at the moment, MobiPocket is not planned, but as you said before, it might yet happen.
That might yet happen. MobiPocket is always difficult because, as you know, it now belongs to Amazon, and I think it's you can say they're not actually very open to supporting other devices right now. So it's they're putting up a good fight in keeping their documentation closed and stuff, and we're talking to them. Let's see what happens. We want to support MobiPocket, obviously.
Yeah, we just had our own little run-in with Amazon at Mobileread over a script that actually doesn't really do anything bad, but apparently Amazon thinks differently. You can read it up on the net. It's a very interesting topic right now. Okay, so if I understood correctly, your textr.com platform is going to be a place where you can not only share your own texts, but maybe at one point or another also buy commercial books. Tell us a bit more about this.
Textr.com is the place where you get your content from. So you can always get the content to the device via USB or Wi-Fi or SD card if you like. But after you've seen textr.com, you probably will find you don't want to do this anymore because it's just so much easier to just collect the content on textr.com and have the device as a window for textr.com. So you look at the device and you're seeing all the content that is in your account at textr.com. So you can manage and organize all your text on txtr.com and read them on a dedicated reader device. That's pretty much the idea.
So if I understood correctly, you're going to try and do something similar to Whispernet that Amazon uses, with having basically a mobile phone card in the device. What are your plans where price plan and flat rate or anything like that is concerned?
Nothing's decided yet, but one thing, we won't force you into anything. So you can buy the device plain. You will probably have a chance of testing the Whispernet-like functionality. And you can then upgrade to use it with a flat rate or a prepaid model, but nothing's decided yet on that thing.
So basically the idea is to take any mobile phone card, pop it into the device, and then you can use it like that, or do you have to have a special Wizpac sanctified card that has then a special contract with you basically over some mobile provider?
It's going to be it's going to come with a SIM card pre-installed that you can just use. So you don't do any additional contracts with O2 or your mobile phone operator in your country. So at least in Germany, it's coming with a SIM card pre-installed, and it just works. That's what we're planning for.
Okay, that's very nice. About the content, we already spoke about that at the beginning of the interview. Do you have any idea whatsoever where pricing models are concerned?
It's a difficult question, especially in Germany, where we have Buchpreisbindung, as you know, and we're at the booth of the Börsenverein, which holds that digital books are books and are bound to Buchpreisbindung, which means they're going to cost as much as the paper version is going to cost. You can hear from the way I put this that I don't fully agree with that position, but that's the facts with the right holders. And we'll have to see how the market develops and what new models develop there. I don't think there will be a constant. They won't be trying to simulate that electronic books are paper books for a very long time, because it just doesn't add up to the concept.
It's probably going to be like the music industry. They also thought at first that they have to charge maybe even a premium if you are allowed to download their music instead of buying it on a CD, but probably in the end they will have to realize that it won't work. Okay, basically final question for now. You give a sort of vague release date on your website, third quarter of 2009. I don't know whether it's still accurate. And you don't give any information whatsoever about pricing. Can you tell us anything new?
I'm not sure if I can tell you anything new. It's going to be priced competitively. So, the Sony reader is starting with 300 euros now. We're not sure we're going to be at that 300 euro price tag. It's not going to be very much more. So, but that's something. It's not that we don't want to tell you. We just don't know. There's a lot of manufacturing set up to be done now. We're going to put this into production now, and we just don't know our cost structure. So that's probably all I can tell you about this. And the release date, concerning the release date, we're going to make it in 2009, and fall is the sporty announcement. So, but we're going to do it in 2009.
So let's hope that promise holds better than the release dates of IRIX. We had a lot of fun with those in the past.
All of the other manufacturers, if you know the Chinese manufacturers like Jinky, they're announcing a new device all 2 weeks or so, and they're not very.
They don't ever sell them, actually.
Yeah, there's always that. It's a tricky business because you have so much setup to do, and Sony is the only big consumer electronics player in that market up till now, and the small players have a tougher job to do because the sourcing for the components is just so much more difficult when you're small.
Yeah, of course. So thank you very much for the interview. Oh, one last question pops to mind. Firmware updates. How are they going to be managed? Are they going to work via your, let's say, Whispernet equivalent, or are they going to work via the computer with USB or something?
There are concepts we're going to have to figure out what is going to be possible. Of course, we want to do it via the mobile connection. But you don't want to break things via mobile, so we're going to be very sure that this actually works before we test it out. There will be, of course, always a possibility to do it via USB, and we will have, as an open system, very, very elaborate debricking capabilities, so you can't break your device.
Well, I wouldn't say we can't break our device, because there's always a way to break even the unbreakable, but if it's hard to break, then that's a very good sign at least.
It's going to be hard to break.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the interview, and maybe now if the battery is charged we can still take a look at the device itself. Thank you very much.